create. We're going to click on campaign. So we will be focusing on generating leads. So we're going to select leads. Now, while you can go with create a campaign without a goals guidance, which we used to do for many years, we found that the Google algorithm is just getting better and better and smarter. So any input we can give the Google algorithm towards what our goal actually is, the better it's going to be. And this is just another nudge in the direction of, hey, this is what we're looking for. Optimize for this, please. Which is why we always select leads when we're going for leads and sales when we're going for sales. And then we're going to scroll down, and as you can see, we've got two different conversions right here. Now, what they're asking is, what should we be optimizing for? Well, what they should be optimizing for is getting as many leads as possible from the target country that we are going to be selecting in the upcoming lecture. So if you've got other things here like page view or purchases or anything like that, it is a good idea to click on remove purchase goal and click on remove. It's not going to remove the conversion tracking or setup or anything like that. It's only going to remove the optimization part. Because again, if we decide to optimize for purchases, it's going to be targeting people who are willing to purchase, but those might not be the people who are interested in signing up as a lead. And here, when we're collecting leads, we're only looking to optimize for people who are interested in the offer that we're currently offering, not the products that we have on our website. So this is why it's important to focus on the conversion goal that you have. Of course, when you're doing a sales campaign, focus on purchases. When you're doing a leads campaign, you focus on getting leads. So I'm going to make sure that I only have my leads in here as an optimization goal, and then click on continue. And then we're going to scroll down, and I'm going to select search. Scroll down, and now I'm going to select lead form submission because that's what we're looking to optimize for. And then I'm going to name my campaign, and I like to name them with first objective, and then the product, and then the targeting. So in this case, it's going to look like this. The objective is to get leads. The offer I have is the intro course, and the targeting is the big six. Now, again, this is only for your eyes. So when I write big six, I know that I'm talking about the big six English-speaking countries: US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and Ireland. And then I'm going to click on continue. So when it comes to the bidding, the question is, what do I want to focus on? Do I want to get conversions? Do I want a certain conversion value, only possible if we had an actual value on our leads, by the way? Or do I want to get clicks or a certain amount of impression share? Now, we're always going to go for conversions. The only thing that is interesting is getting as many conversions as possible. Now, even if we knew the value of our leads and we set a conversion value, that would still be limiting the algorithm. And in order to properly use the full power of Google's algorithm, we should try to limit it as little as possible, and only when needed, nudge it in the right direction. But this would be a bad direction to nudge it in, because this would just limit it. So I strongly recommend to always focus on getting as many conversions as possible. And a conversion, as we optimized it for before, is going to mean as many leads as possible. And we don't want to set a target cost per action. Again, that is just one of the many ways we can limit the algorithm. So we're going to leave this. And then we have the option for optimizing this campaign for acquiring new customers. We're not going to check that either. It doesn't matter if it's people who have visited our site before, old, new. We only want to get as many leads as possible for this specific campaign. So we're not going to check that either. And then click on next. And then the question is, where do we want to display it? We are going to display it on the search network because that is going to be the Google searches, of course. Do we want to include Google search partners, meaning a lot of different sites that are cooperating with Google and YouTube? And my recommendation is generally, if you're going for the US, yes. If you're going outside the US, probably not going to get as good statistics. But since we're targeting US and a bunch of other English-speaking countries, I am actually going to leave this one on. Now, we also have the display network. Do I want to include the display network? I don't, and the reason I don't is because the display network primarily works through images. But since this is going to be a search campaign, we are going to work with text. So what's going to happen is we're going to get our text ad next to image ads, which means we are not going to have a chance. And because of that, we're just going to be throwing money where we're not going to be getting any high quality leads. Now, if you run with this for a while and you're noticing that, hey, I'm not getting very high quality leads, you could try running a different campaign and turning this one off and seeing if that is going to improve the quality for you. But for now, I'm going to leave this on. Scrolling down, we have the location. Now I'm going to enter this big six once again. So I'm going to click on enter another location, and I'm going to write them in: United States, the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, finally Ireland. There we go. And next, it's very important that we go down to location options and we change from presence or interest to presence. Now, if we choose presence, that means that we're only going to target people who are actually in this country, and that is the entire point of the targeting. If we choose presence or interest, that means we're also going to be targeting people who are interested in those countries. So if I'm sitting and I'm looking at beautiful images of New Zealand and their fantastic sceneries and just doing a bunch of Googling about New Zealand, I might get targeted by this ad, and that's a bad idea when we're looking at targeting the people in these countries. So make sure that you only select presence. Then we're gonna go down, we're not gonna change the languages, we're gonna leave it for English. We're gonna go down to audience segments. Now, what are audience segments? Audience segments is another way that we can be targeting people beyond keywords. What is interesting here is if you go to browse, there are different ways that we can target people from who they are, what their interests and habits are, what they're actively researching or planning, etc. What we can do here is to go ahead and select a bunch of interesting data that's interesting to us, just to see what type of people that are actually interested in our ads. The key here is that as long as you keep this on observation, that means that we're going to get all the data from here, all of the data from the things we select in here, without actually targeting the people in here. So this will never limit your targeting as long as you only leave this in observation. It will only give you more data. However, if you select targeting, that means we're going to use your keywords, and for example, if we select who they are and we only target men or only women in a certain age, that is severely going to narrow down your targeting and really limit the algorithm. So I strongly recommend to always only keep this on observation and then go in and then start checking for the things that are interesting to you. For example, are you interested in learning more about people in the education sector who's taking our course, maybe financial, healthcare, hospitality, construction industry? I could scroll up, I could go into parental status, parents, parents of infants, parents of toddlers, preschoolers, grade schoolers. Now, once again, this is only going to give me additional info later on in my Google Ads dashboard. So this isn't something we have to do. This is only something that we can do in order to get more info and more data, and then have this as a targeting option if we choose to later on. Parent accessories. So technically, you could target everything in here and just get more and more data. Once again, this is just a bonus. Then we're going to scroll down and we have broad match keywords, and it says broad match keywords work with smart bidding to help you reach your campaign goals. Using broad match keywords for your entire campaign ensures consistency and provides access to additional settings such as brand restriction. That is not very interesting, the brand restriction. What is interesting is that we're making sure that everything we do is going to be focused on broad keywords for the entire campaign. And that is important because once again, we're focusing on using the Google AI algorithm to our advantage, with the knowledge that Google has a lot more data than we do. And because of that, once we train it, having the algorithm learn what it is that we're offering and what it is that we're looking for, it's going to do a much better job than we ever could. So this is why the entire strategy is based on going broad, using broad matching and broad keywords, and allowing the algorithm to find the audience for us. And then we're going to go down to more settings down here. And the first thing we have is something called ad rotation. Let me show you how this one works. So an ad rotation is basically how do you want to handle the ad performers that you have. So let's say in this setup we have 4 different ads, and they are all targeting a bunch of different keywords, and a bunch of different keywords are targeting different ads. Now, if we use the optimize option in here, and we know that one of these ads are getting much more clicks than the other ads are, then that means that Google Ads is going to be preferring that ad and showing that ad much more often. However, if we go with the non-optimized, that means it's going to try to show all of the ads equally much and even out those clicks. Basically, always, we're going to want to go with optimized because what is it that's interesting here? It is getting the best performers, getting the best audience, the highest quality leads, and maximizing your profit. That's the entire point of making ads. Only scenario where I would recommend that you use the do not optimize is if you are testing something intentionally. For example, you're using a bunch of different keywords and you want to see how they're going to fare against each other before you decide to do more research in one direction or another. That way, it can be a good idea to choose do not optimize, get all the data in, look at the click-through rate, the conversion rate, how many leads you're getting, etc. And then you'll know which direction to go, and then you can switch to optimize and start gathering more and more and more results. Scrolling down, we can go to more settings, and we have some additional things like start and end dates. Now, I never really recommend that you use start and end dates. Even when you're doing something like a Black Friday or a Christmas sale, you can still start and stop these intentionally yourself and keep an eye on them. If you really want to, you can create a Black Friday campaign and just do a start date and an end date. But generally, I just prefer to do it manually and keep an eye on it myself. But the option is there and available should you want it. And then we have the ad schedule. How often do you want this to run? Normally, you want it to run every day, all the time, everywhere if you could. Now, the only reason, in my opinion, to use this is if, for example, you're looking at getting calls, or you're looking at getting more instant leads where you get a lead and you act on it directly. Then you might only want to get leads Mondays to Fridays, or get those calls Mondays to Fridays, and maybe only want to get them between, let's say, 8 and 5 or 9 and 5. So only between your actual work hours. And then when you're outside of your work hours, the ad is going to shut off, which means that you're not going to display this ad and get those calls outside of your working time. It's just a smart approach if that is what you're going to be using the ad for. But in most use cases, we're just going to want to leave it on all day. Go down to more settings. We have the campaign URL options. We don't need to set any additional tracking or anything. We're going to get all the data we need. We don't need to set any brand restrictions either. Again, we don't want to limit the algorithm. So we're going to go ahead and click on next. And then next up, we're going to be creating our keywords and our ads. And while Google is offering to help us out, and this can be quite interesting, I recommend that we do it ourselves. And I'm going to show you how we can still use AI in order to do our keywords and our ads, but in a way that, in my opinion, is much faster and much smarter. Hope you're excited. See you in the next lecture.